Yeah, so I'm just gonna do a experience report on one ayahuasca experience I had, and yeah, kind of like just a little general experience report on ayahuasca. I've only had it about 4 times myself though, so there's not that much I can contribute. So yeah, my first experience with ayahuasca was quite a, I'm trying to say light, but it wasn't, relatively light in comparison to smoking DMT. In comparison to proper ayahuasca experiences, it was quite light. So I started my experience, I think, with 25 grams of mimosa and then the Banisteriopsis caapi. Now, I've seen a lot of recipes where you cook them together over time with vinegar and etc., and you drink it, or you do an extraction, which is to turn it into fumarate or HCl. But I didn't do any of that. I ingested the Banisteriopsis caapi as it was to start with, and then I ingested the Mimosa hostilis. I know that sounds strange and like it would be ineffective, but it actually worked quite well. Now, the Banisteriopsis caapi was awful. It tasted horrible, and it just made me feel bad. But then when the Mimosa hostilis hit my mouth, it became puke-worthy, and it's not like horrible the way you'd expect. It's not like it's mildly nasty or it's a bit bitter. It is gut-wrenchingly awful stuff to ingest. I don't know why. It just is gut-wrenchingly awful stuff to ingest. So anyway, I ingested all of this stuff. I threw like a small bit up an hour later, but I didn't really throw that much up. And yeah, I start coming up, and I remember tripping a little bit, as though I was on mushrooms, just a little bit. I remember things sort of feeling as though they were blending into me, and then I remember things seeming to be only the things that were happening were the only things. I felt as though my experiences were blending into one. I remember I was playing around with the curtains, and I was sort of rolling around in them stood up, and I forgot all human concepts. I forgot that things other than that actually existed in a blissful way. Like, I was just one with those damn curtains. It was really nice. I remember it started to get into a heavier trip, and at this point I decided it would be a good idea to call a taxi to go to a friend's from my house. So I called up the taxi, and as I get into the taxi, I'm starting to come up a lot heavier. Now, I step into the left-hand side of the taxi because, in England we have the driver on the right-hand side of the car on the inside. I get into the passenger seat, and I look at the guy, and he's got a burnt face and quite deformed facial features and such, which was really weird when I was tripping because I didn't know if they were real facial features or not. But I saw the guy and got in the taxi with him later on, and I realised that that was that. So that didn't worry me seeing it the second time. And yeah, I could feel myself going heavier. I could feel that it wasn't really reasonable to talk to this guy, so I told him I was drunk as I got into the taxi. I paid him there and then, so that I wouldn't forget on going out or not understand it, because it was that kind of trip. This was a lighter experience with ayahuasca though. It gets a lot heavier than this. So yeah, he's driving me along, and I look at him, and then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, everything is severely warping into everything. I feel as though my leg and my legs in general have dissolved behind me and behind the chair I'm sat on. I open the windows and look out, and I don't see what's there anymore. I see images in my mind of trees, old organisms that, as far as I'm aware, don't exist, but I feel like I've seen them before. Like, they're not made up organisms, like they existed before or they exist somewhere. in the future or in the past or somewhere in the universe, but not on Earth currently. It was very, very odd feeling. I remember looking back at him and seeing his face warping inwards and outwards, feeling like a sense of kind of transcending to another world, but not in a bad way. It was blissful. It was like becoming enlightened, I guess. Like I was feeling the world. I could feel the essence of what reality was, the essence of what my world is. It was beautiful. I remember after about 10 minutes of driving and no talking and me just looking out the window and tripping balls, I remember him stopping, dropping me off with my friends. I remember getting out. I was about 10 meters, if that, away from the door, and I had no idea where I was for about a minute or two. I didn't really know what was going on or what I was doing. I quickly ran over there out of instinct and knocked on the door. My friend answered. I'd forgotten, because I was tripping so hard, that I'd gone to see a friend. I was just somewhere tripping hard. So he answered the door and I hugged him and my face just brightened up. I felt a lot better. He took me into his house, and at this point colours are all blending into everything. I can't see in the conventional sense. I'm tripping so hard that everything's become a warped mess of bubbles and colours and things spiralling in and outwards, including the way physical sensations felt. It didn't feel as though I was walking. It felt as though my body was just going within and without, inside of itself and twisting around itself in weird shapes. The geometric patterns you see when you get visuals, I felt them physically happen. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, I remember I was playing Dynasty Warriors with him, and I remember when I killed stuff, you get like red stuff come out as experience, and I remember just being really good at it because the intense red felt so good visually. I remember just destroying stuff and there being nothing but intense red and other intense colours as I was running around. And yeah, a little bit later, the experience started petering down. I still felt really good, really positive, really nicely trippy, still a bit warpy. Went out and got loads of sugary food and ate that. Apparently you're not meant to eat sugary stuff or really eat at all when you're on Aya. But in all my experiences so far, I've eaten normally. I felt ill only that next day after that time, probably because of how much sugar I had. However, I feel like I would have felt ill regardless with the amount of sugar I ate. Past that, for me, I eat normally on ayahuasca all the times I've had it, and it hasn't made me feel any different the next day, apart from mentally, but not really physically that different. One thing I'd say with much higher journeys on ayahuasca, which I'm not going to go into, I'm just too tired, is that you will purge. The whole thing about vomiting your ass off is true, and it's fucking horrible. It's not like vomiting normally. This stuff is awful. When it goes in, it tastes awful. When it comes out, it tastes awful. But on higher doses, when you purge, after about 20-30 minutes of it, it starts to feel good. It starts off feeling terrible and being terrifying because you're tripping and you're purging. And it's a horrible feeling. It puts you in a bad place for a little bit. But once you accept it and realise what's happening, it does become enjoyable. It's still a horrible experience. It's still physically horrible. But for me, it became mentally enjoyable. Just because I could feel myself being cleansed. And you'll purge quite a lot for the first 20-30 minutes. After that, you won't purge for a while. You might purge a little bit every 30 minutes or so after that. But that's about it. But yeah, with the whole ayahuasca purging thing, yeah, you'll purge a lot on much higher doses. Not on the dose I was on. I didn't purge on that first dose. But on subsequent doses I've had, and also in brews, which seem to be a bit more effective, but I don't know if they're significantly more effective. It doesn't have to be brewed. I learned that myself. Yeah, you're going to throw up a lot, and it's not going to be pleasant. And you're going to have some pretty profound experiences, like when you smoke DMT, even at lower levels of ayahuasca. It's a pretty profound experience in itself. It's not the profound experience, but it is still pretty profound. So yeah, that was my experience report on ayahuasca. thanks for listening, and enjoy your eye. Oh shit! A personal recommendation. Who cares?